Man, I work with a bunch of heathens. Look at all this stuff. Shit everywhere. A new Tom Clancy title that nobody asked for. Netflix is apparently a game developer now. And now you can have a PC in the palm of your hands. What the is going on, guys? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another G-Mineo weekly update. I am your host, Seth, and this will probably be posting a day late on Tuesday as opposed to the usual Monday because, well, just because. Before we get into the headlines of this last week and all the updates that I have for you guys, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to go down and drop any comments down below on any of the titles or headlines that you are all excited about to see this week. But without further ado, let's get into it. Ubisoft just revealed Tom Clancy's XDefiant about 3 hours ago as of the filming of this video, and people are not happy. Since 2013, gamers have been waiting for the next installment in the highly acclaimed stealth shooter, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. But instead, Ubisoft announces yet another first-person shooter that sort of looks like a weird hodgepodge between like punk rock color palette, bad Call of Duty Warzone ripoffs, and Apex Legends. People in the comments are absolutely roasting this game, and while I'm not a big fan of the franchise and honestly the game looks kind of interesting, I can understand how people would be a little bit upset considering the fact that they've been waiting for almost 8 years for the next installment in one of their favorite games, and instead they get this. And I'm not sure if I see how they're going to sort of compete with all the games that are already out there, especially things like Call of Duty Warzone, Apex Legends, Valorant, and Overwatch. It doesn't really look like there's anything new in this particular offering that hasn't sort of already been done before. I think they sort of just thought that if they slapped Tom Clancy's name on another MOMA, it would work out, but we'll find out. Just a couple of days ago, Valve announced the release of the new Steam Deck. And I gotta say, after looking at the specs and the hardware in this thing, it smokes the Switch. And you gotta wonder if Valve isn't trolling just like a little bit, considering the fact that they made the announcement on the day that pre-orders started shipping out for the new OLED Switch. This handheld PC basically is super impressive and actually bears more in common with the Xbox One and the PS5 than it does with other handheld consoles, namely the Switch. The hardware absolutely smokes it. There has been some concern that it's not going to be able to handle the bigger AAA titles like Apex and Destiny 2 and a few other titles as well, but Valve is apparently working on a new OS that's going to be able to handle some of the more popular games that people are used to playing on Steam. So who knows? Some people here were pretty excited about it at the channel, other people not so excited considering they're big Nintendo Switch fans. You know who you are, gentlemen.
Round one, fight.
Needless to say, the Steam Deck looks like it's going to be a very, very promising offering coming this December. And apparently Netflix is a game developer, you guys. Last week, they announced that they were hiring an former executive of EA and Facebook. Let me look at that name. Mike Verdu, who was apparently, like I said, responsible for a few Star Wars games, a few other things during his time at EA, but he has been brought on to Netflix, reporting directly to the CEO as the Vice President of Game Development. I bet they're gonna be doing a few interesting things within their existing IP that they already have, or rather the things that they already have a right to, but apparently it's gonna become part of their core offering is what they've announced. So look for that in the future, and it could be happening as early as within the next calendar year. So things are moving pretty quickly for Netflix. I'm kind of excited about it. Currently, none of the other major streamers offer anything like this in terms of video game streaming. So, I mean, it seems like kind of a move. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that it's going to be successful? Would you play video games if they were offered by Netflix? I mean, personally, I would, but let me know. That pretty much wraps it up for all of the major headlines that have happened over the last week, you guys, and brings us into the new releases that are dropping this week in gaming. Cotton Reboot, which is a classic Japanese arcade shooter, has come to the Nintendo Switch, or is coming to the Nintendo Switch, available on July 20th. It's not really my style of game, not for me, but apparently this is one of Japan's longest running franchises and looks to be kind of fun. For those of you Switch fans out there, you can check this one out July 20th. From indie developer Modus Games comes Cris Tales, a love letter to classic JRPGs. Cris Tales promises an expansive world with lots of storytelling and a satisfying plot where you work with teammates to foil the Empress's plan for world domination. It is available on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, PC, and Nintendo Switch, all on July 20th. Last Stop, available on July 22nd, is a narrative gameplay game that centers around the lives of 3 seemingly unconnected playable characters, but as you make your way through the storyline, you find out how these lives mingle together and how they're connected, and sort of the magic in the mundane is what it's advertised to be. So, it looks kind of interesting. Again, not necessarily my particular cup of tea, but if you're into that sort of thing, you can check it out on July 22nd. And finally, from Robot Entertainment comes the 3rd installment in the Orcs Must Die award-winning franchise. This new installment of the game features new traps, new abilities, new playable characters, and a lot of different ways that you can go about killing all of those orcs in this game. This game actually looks really funny, really cleverly written. It's got some witty dialogue that I was a fan of watching the trailers and the playthroughs and things like that. So be sure to check that out. It is available on PC, Xbox One, and PS4, all on July 23rd. That wraps it up for new releases this week and brings us on to any major updates that are happening. Now, technically this happened last week, but I thought it was worth noting because I'm a big fan. Call of Duty Warzone received its biggest major weapons overhaul update ever last week, where the developers really went in, messed with a lot of the meta and a lot of the guns, and tried to sort of do this massive balance overhaul. There's been a lot of content creators creating content around what are the new guns, what are the new metas, and things like that in the game. It's been a lot of fun to participate in as a player, and a lot of the old favorites that I have, like the Grau and the Bruin, are now viable once again as sort of meta weapons in Warzone. Check that out if you haven't already. There's some really, really cool content out there. Be sure to give that a look. And also happening this week, Frostpunk, which is a very well acclaimed, very well reviewed survival strategy game on the PC, is receiving 3 major updates this week, 3 new, rather, DLCs, all starting on July 21st. The Rifts, one of the DLCs, basically just features sort of a new building that you're able to use, bridges to sort of span the plateaus on which you build your cities. It's pretty simple, but apparently a brand new addition to the game that allows you to sort of expand and feature sort of new horizons, or rather explore new areas of the game. On the Edge is a completely new game mode that actually has players stepping away from the traditional city of New London and going out onto the fringes of the Frostpunk sort of world to build new cities. And it deals with even more intense questions rather, of morality, survival, and sort of all of the implications that come with playing a game like this. It also features a brand new interface that is made with gamepads in mind because it is coming to consoles. And finally, the largest expansion of these DLCs, The Last Autumn, actually has the players going back to the events before freezing death has hit the planet. It is literally the last autumn of the world of Frostpunk, and has you sort of setting yourself up for the events that take place later on in the game. So completely new game mode, completely new abilities, has you playing as a construction crew manager who is trying to sort of build enough resources to set up the subsequent game. And this is supposed to be even more insanely difficult than the existing game is already, so this is a big one for veteran players who are looking for a new challenge in the game. But that's it as far as updates go to any major games this week, and brings us on to film and television. Loki has been confirmed for a season 2. Beware, spoilers are ahead in this section of the update, so if you haven't watched the show yet, make sure to get those earmuffs on. But it was confirmed that Loki will be getting a second season. The show has been massively successful for Disney Plus, and I am very, very excited to see what happens in these future episodes. It's been so fascinating to see the interweaving of these sort of new television shows and Marvel's Phase 4 and everything else that has happened. And that brings actually a perfect segue into the next bit, which is officially there was the first ever meeting for establishing the rules of the Marvel multiverse. Kevin Feige had a meeting of the minds across broad teams all over Marvel where they discussed the sort of rules of the multiverse, because it was revealed in this season finale of Loki, the Marvel multiverse is now a thing. That is right, timelines have officially diverged and there are alternate universes within the MCU. So that meeting was very, very necessary to set up subsequent shows and the events that are going to be taking place in the MCU moving forward. Also in film and television, John Wick has a spin-off series. It's going to be featured on the Starz network. Allegedly, it's going to be a 3-part mini-series with 3 different episodes that are all movie length, and the budget is purportedly $20 million per episode. That means that collectively, all 3 of these mini-series shows are going to have bigger budgets than the first 2 installments of the John Wick movies. So very, very interested. They actually follow Ian McShane's character Winston from The Hotel and go back, I think, 40 years before the events of the films to discuss that character and show how he arrived at the place that he is in. It looks really, really exciting, and I'm sure it's something to look forward to for fans of John Wick. And speaking of exciting things happening in movies, Black Adam, the newest sort of big flagship movie that's coming from the DC cinematic universe, has officially wrapped filming, according to star Dwayne Johnson. He said it was the hardest undertaking of his career, both mentally and physically, in the Twitter post where he said that they had wrapped on the filming. I'm kind of interested to see how this movie does, because Marvel's been hitting home runs for again, about 12, 13 years now, since those early sort of late 2000s, and DC has really struggled to sort of gain any foothold in that area. I mean, aside from Wonder Woman personally for me, not a lot of really exciting, awesome films have come from the DCU. But apparently things are shifting. Dwayne Johnson's very, very excited about the film, and a lot of fans are as well. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think the DC is finally going to sort of step up to the plate and start competing with Marvel in terms of the scale and the scope and the quality of their films with this newest sort of attempt? Or are we just doomed to forever never really get what we deserve from a DC cinematic universe? I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are. Make sure to drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the new Black Adam movie. That wraps it up for film and television, guys, and brings us finally into the setup spotlight. And this setup spotlight goes out to none other than One Setups. This setup, I think my favorite thing about it is just the greenery, the greens and blues, the color palette of this space. It looks like so chill, so inviting, and would be definitely a setup that I would want to see in my house. I also love this guy's style of photography. He's an incredible photographer, and congratulations, my dude. The setup is awesome, and your photography is super A+. But that wraps it up for the G-Mineo weekly update, you guys. We've got a lot of exciting content coming for you. We've been filming all day today, as a matter of fact. It's part of the reason why my voice is so hoarse. We've been screaming and shouting and playing a lot of fun games. So cannot wait to show you guys what we have in store for you, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, game it till you make it. Catch you guys later.